producer, owner of the show. I started it 17 years ago. And thanks to my friend and compadre, all the way to the right, Dr. Richard Phelps, connoisseur of food, music, and computers. He's the best I know of about computers. Richard,
Thank you, Bob.
thank you, Richard.
All right.
And it is our honor to have a lady with a master's degree, Kelly Henry. She has a BS in psychology,
I have a bachelor's in sociology
in sociology,
and a master's in social work.
and a master's in social work. And what else?
And I'm a certified social worker, and I am recently an author.
And this is her book, Take the Journey.
So the book is a memoir, but it's also a self-help book. It's something that I started as a personal journal for myself. So it was my journey for healing. And over the years, it evolved into a self-help book as I added activities and interventions and ideas that I use to protect my mental health, along with resources for addiction and resources for suicide prevention in the book.
Thank you. To start off, we're going to start off pray. You pray?
Absolutely.
Would you like to lead us in prayer?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Lord, we come to you humbly to thank you for this beautiful day and thank you for this opportunity to spread your word and to also spread knowledge and to be helped and to be helped. Father, we thank you for everything. We come to you in grace. We come to you humbly to ask that you watch over us, that you give us the words to say, that you open up the hearts that need to hear what they need to hear, and that they get what they need to get. We thank you through Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
And Father, quicken the people that are watching that might want to ask questions of Kelly. Kelly has a lot of experience and can help people out there. So don't be shy to ask questions. The phones are open. What's the phone number, Richard?
337-366-8951 and press 1 to be in the queue.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes, please call. If I don't have the answers, I won't lie to you, but I might be able to get back to you on it. But please call if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you. And Kelly gave me and Richard each a book, and Take the Journey, so we're going to have to read it. Mastering Your Life by Writing Your Own Story. And as y'all, if y'all have watched, I have written my own story. I have 17 books on Amazon, but that's another story. But we're gonna start by asking Kelly, just what do you do?
Okay, well, I just graduated from LSU with my master's in social work. So
Wow.
I am currently studying for the state exam for licensure in Louisiana. I will be taking my license exam and then applying for jobs. So currently, I just published my book and I've been focusing on promoting it. I specialize in geriatric population, so I would really love to be working in the end-of-life care. So currently, I am just trying to be an advocate, working on the book, and obviously coming here, and we're going to talk about mental health and how that affects homelessness and how homelessness affects mental health.
It's an honor to have you here.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Homelessness is a big thing in Louisiana, especially Lafayette.
Absolutely.
I ride down the road and I come to these intersections and I see these people with signs saying, "will work," or "homeless," with like $1 or something like that. That's all over the place in Lafayette, you know?
It is, and I don't know if you've noticed that there's also now signs against panhandling
Yep.
in Baton Rouge and in Lafayette. So the signs, discourage from giving money to people who are asking for it on the street, and they encourage you to donate to organizations. I find though that the downfall of the signs, not only does it take away from autonomy of a person wanting to give out of their heart.
Yep.
But the signs don't give any information on where to get help. The signs give the information on where to give help. So that can be a barrier because the people who are standing next to the sign asking for money don't know where to go and get the money necessarily, or they may not have the means to get to it.
Well, okay, I got something. We have a friend of ours named Jennifer Thorpe. Richard.
Yeah.
She started an organization in Lafayette. What is Meaningful
Minds United. It used to be Meaningful Minds of Louisiana, but she realized the problems that we're dealing with in Louisiana, the problems all over the world. We've had Zoom meetings where there are people in Europe and I don't know where else, all sharing about the commonality of mental health and how a lot of places there's no care whatsoever overseas. In other places there's some care, and here in Louisiana a lot of times there's no beds for a person that's being sent by ambulance to a hospital that specialize in mental health care. They may not have any beds.
Yeah, well, she has an organization that helps people with jobs, helps people get educated, things like that, She got a grant for that, and then she does that, So,
yeah. I don't know about that organization per se. But I do know, so I live in Opelousas, Louisiana, and I do know that there is the Mission. It is a men's transitional house. So a lot of people think that it's just a shelter, but they actually address mental health. They address work readiness. They address spirituality.
Good.
And so they are, there's mandated classes that you go to every day so that these things are being taught and brought up and talked about. So there's there, and I encourage supporting the Mission. And also, I know in Acadiana there's Arch, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so they offer like housing assistance, and stuff like that. But when it comes to mental health, we have to look at a different area. So we might go to NAMI, NAMI, so to get more help and resources on mental health.
Yeah.
But there's no like one stop shop, right?
No.
Yeah.
For homelessness and mental health. And mental health is not being addressed a lot of times, like you mentioned, Richard,
right.
When someone is experiencing homelessness because they don't have access to a physician or a psychiatrist or a counselor, and even if they do have that access, if they have Medicaid, or even if you're not homeless and you have Medicaid, the chances of finding a psychiatrist or a counselor to accept that in a timely manner is very limited. So you may not get in to see a counselor for 3 to 4 months, but you need it now.
Right.
You may not be able to get into an inpatient because it's full, or because your insurance says you can only stay there 3 or 7 days, but you need more.
Exactly.
And then what do we do even if we address the mental illness? We send them back into the street.
Yeah. Where they're there by themselves with no resources and no help. Same thing with our jails, the 70. I think I heard this right. 70% of the jails have people that are mentally ill, You know.
Very good point. You were touching on everything that I was going to touch on too.
Wow.
Okay. Okay.
So, incarceration.
Mm.
All right, when it comes to incarceration, 37% of adults who are incarcerated in the state and federal prison systems have been diagnosed with a mental illness. 37%.
Wow.
About 3 in 5 people with a history of mental illness do not receive mental health treatment while incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's most of them. So not only are you not receiving mental health, whether experiencing homelessness or being incarcerated, you're dealing with elements that are making your mental health worse. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about survival, and you're thinking about safety.
Because you're in jail.
Right.
It's dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be in jail.
Right. And Maslow is, he's a theorist, but his theory is a hierarchy of needs. And it starts with the psychological and then safety. And as you go up the hierarchy...
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So safety is the second. Psychological is the first.
Yeah.
That has to be met, and then safety, and then love and self-actualization, and those things can be met.
Yeah.
But when safety isn't being met, it's hard for a person to evolve to the next levels.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, during the pandemic, it was extremely stressful to quarantine, to isolate, quarantine, and life was not normal, and it still isn't.
Absolutely.
I'm still adjusting. I mean, I had to face it. I'm still adjusting. I had COVID a year and a half ago. I've got what they call super immunity, but that doesn't mean a friend of mine couldn't come down with it, or the neighbor, or whatever. Add that to my anxiety and mild depression diagnosis, and it was through the roof.
Yeah, Richard, actually, so when I was supposed to come on the show was, maybe 2 months ago, but I caught COVID.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I actually couldn't come on the show.
Yeah.
And it was very depressing. And
Yeah.
I was getting anxiety because I was locked in my room by myself for 10 days. And, I wanted to get out, and I wanted to tell people, and I want to feel better.
Yeah.
And so, that's another thing that's going on when you experience homelessness also, or you're incarcerated. Like, there's that isolation, there's that loneliness, and we're social creatures.
Yeah.
So all of that starts to deteriorate our mental health. And if you already have a mental health illness, and then you become homeless or incarcerated, those symptoms they become worse.
I would like to share something. I don't know how long ago it was. I knew you had Richard back then, but I was driving my car, and there was the detour in Lafayette. And I took a detour, and I ran a stop sign, ran into a police car, T-boned the police car. And it was a brand new one. And they said some of the medicine that I had in my car was oxytocin, the narcotic drug. And they said, their experts said that's what it was, but actually it was actually heart medicine. But they took me in. They gave me a drug test. They gave me a
drug screen.
and an alcohol test. And then they went and locked me up in jail, and I had known a bit about jail. I had been in jail before, but I knew better to tell them that I was a mental patient and that I needed a room by myself, and they put me in a room by myself. So here's to you, talking to you people. If y'all ever get caught by the police and y'all have a mental health diagnosis, just tell them y'all have a mental health diagnosis, and you'll be alone from the general public, because that can be dangerous, being with the general public.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime, you need an accommodation, make sure you advocate that no matter what environment you're in, whether it's jail or school or work, you have to let it be known that you have this condition and that you need accommodations. And I know that there's still a lot of stigma around it, but don't be ashamed. I wrote this book, I dedicated it to anybody with an unseen illness, and that's what I put on the back. Because we can see some people's disabilities, but we can't see everybody's, and we don't know how someone is struggling unless that person tells us.
Yeah.
So it's very important, and you'd be surprised how many other people are struggling too. Depression is actually the leading cause of disability.
The most common.
It's the leading cause of disability in the United States.
Yes.
Well, actually, it's right under anxiety. There's anxiety and then depression. But there are, let's see, I have some statistics actually. When we look at the United States, this is on. One second. Okay, when we look at the United States, when it comes to mental illness, I know I have it in here, but I memorized it anyway. It's 1 in 5 people, right? So 1 in 5 people suffer with a mental illness in the United States.
From what? Yeah, 25%. I mean, like from what I learned, 1 in 4 people suffer with the mental illness.
Okay.
But that's what I would say. But 1 in 5, 1 in 4. Yeah.
It's still the
still a
majority.
lot.
It's still a lot.
It is absolutely a lot. I wanted to see. Okay, so just in Louisiana, we have an estimated 3,173 people experiencing homelessness on one night. Out of those little over 3,000 people, 619 were identified as severely mentally ill.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
Now, okay, I'm not trying to rock the boat or anything, but in my opinion, there's a lot more than that.
It's unseen.
No, rock the boat.
Okay.
Rock the boat.
I would say thousands of people are homeless in the Lafayette area. And many more have mental illnesses. We have our veterans who fought in the war. Our heroes who were in battle, who were scarred from all the fighting and everything that are on the streets right now. And they should have a place to stay, that are living under bridges and all that. So what I'm trying to say is mental illness is for real, ladies and gentlemen. It is for real.
It is very real. And there's not a lot of resources. Thankfully, there is the VA who does provide some services. But again, it's having that access to it, having that transportation to it, knowing what to do. Because what if your mental illness is so severe that you can't apply for it yourself? Then you need assistance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I'm a disabled veteran. I got drafted in 1970, and I had a nervous breakdown in the service before I went to Vietnam. And I was diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, and I think all kind of things were going on, and I was put into the hospital. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks until they finally let me out on the medical discharge. Thank God for that. If I wouldn't have gone into the service, schizophrenia would have manifested itself due to stress of school or something like that, or something like that, But it was the service that brought it on, the stress. Mental illness comes about due to stress. It manifests itself due to stress, and I was under stress, so You know, I got sick. And I went for 27 years. I went not even knowing I was a veteran and could get help as a veteran. And I was struggling with jobs and, you know, and you name the pain that I've been through, you know, and if you're out there, ladies and gentlemen, and if you're scared to open the door, scared to look outside, we got a call. Let's see what this is. Yes, caller.
Hello?
Hello?
Caller.
Who am I speaking with?
This is Bob.
Bob? Richard there too?
Yes.
Yeah, Richard's there too.
And our guest Kelly.
And our guest
You have
Kelly.
a guest there, a writer and author.
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we hear you.
Listen, I'm wondering if you have your director tonight. There's a couple of technical problems. I'm having trouble with the volume on the TV, and there's a green screen reflecting below your table there. You have a director to handle that?
We can try to get him, but we're short-staffed tonight, so we'll do our best. Did you have a question related to mental health for us? Bob,
Yeah, where can I get her book?
Okay, my book is available on Amazon. It's called Take the Journey, Mastering Your Own Life by Writing Your Own Story. And so it is available on Amazon.
And you're a local author?
I am. I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Good night.
calling.
Thank you.
Bye.
I just
So
met
like
him.
I was saying,
Yeah.
there are people that are scared to go out of their houses, you know.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of fear. I've experienced that fear, you know. Like when I was working, when I couldn't hold on to a job very well because of the schizophrenia, I was washing dishes at a restaurant. And if somebody told me they wanted to talk to me, the fear would well up in me like I was in an alley and a guy, a 250-pound man was coming at me with a knife. That's how much fear these illnesses can cause.
Oh, absolutely. And even if you don't have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, social anxiety is very common for people. So a lot of people freeze up
Yes.
when, they have to speak. And I saw that a lot in college too, that people didn't want to speak up in class and they got a lot of anxiety about it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's very common.
Yeah.
That happens. And you know what, a lot of times too, because we can't hold a job because of our mental illness, then that causes people to become homeless also.
Yeah.
So that all correlates together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you can't hold on to a job, you don't have the money.
And if
to
you
pay.
have disability, you don't have a lot of money.
You don't have a lot of money, and
Yes.
and you're lucky if you have a place to lay your head down at night, you know.
Yes, and there are available resources such as like a plaza or like a income-based living, but then that's very limited. Our housing is very limited.
Right.
In Lafayette, our rent prices are the highest.
Or high.
The
They're
highest.
high, yeah.
And there is a lot of homelessness going on in our area. But traveling, I think you guys travel a good bit too.
Not too much.
Not too much, but a little. But anywhere you go, you're going to see someone experiencing homelessness.
Yes.
I just went to Florida a couple days ago, and that's mostly what I experienced. We went to see a couple of the sites there, like the Graffiti Bridge. It's pretty popular, and people were sleeping in the marsh and under the bridges, and I mean,
Wow.
and lots of people. And so, like when you said, I beg to differ, these numbers are higher. I absolutely agree with you because
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are underreported. This
They
is
are.
only what is known about through HUD and stuff like that. But this is definitely like anything else underreported. And I agree that there's a lot more people
Yeah.
experiencing homelessness than we know about, and there's definitely more than our shelters locally can service.
Absolutely. I have two half sisters with severe mental illness. I met one in person back in '99. The other was all by phone when she was caregiving for my biological mother, who I later found out had a lung tumor and died when she was about 67 or 68. She was down to 75 pounds. And another relative did not want me to go see her in that condition. He had presumed, and she was begging me to come, and it didn't happen. But at least I got to know a little bit more about my roots. I'm still learning about my stepfather, too. There's some information that's slowly eking out about what he did. He turned out to be 75% Italian, and I have some Italian personality, and I love Italian food, the real kind, not the Americanized version. But
Authentic's always better.
oh yes. But the funny thing is, I didn't see anything about homelessness until about high school back in the 70s. And there was all the jokes going around about all that. There was nothing about mental health. And I went into a severe depression after I basically had to withdraw from college. I was taking a degree that I had no business taking. I am not mathematically inclined, but I was doing it mostly to please my father, who was very perfectionistic.
Richard's dad was a Boeing engineer, very smart guy.
He was good at what he
Very
did,
smart, yeah.
but he had that militarian, disciplinarian thing, and that caused me to start having panic attacks in junior high school, and I thought it was literally getting a heart attack. It was that scary to where I almost couldn't breathe, and finally one of my doctors said, "No, you're not having a heart attack. Your heart is healthy. You're having a panic attack." And I go, "What is that?" Well, turned out the muscles were spasming around my chest, and it hurt like crazy and scared me. It happened one time at the bus terminal, and somebody that was inebriated thought I was taking pictures with my cell phone of him, and he tried to grab it, and I said, I have to hold things up this close to see it. And thank goodness the security guard saw that I was going into a panic attack, and he sat me down. I started doing a deep breathing without overdoing it and hyperventilating, but at least it got me calmed down. But I tell you, that half hour was scary, and I'm glad the guard knew what to do. And now if I see something where people are getting into an argument or want to argue with me, I basically walk away from it.
Yeah, that's the best.
I used to
thing
fly
you can
off the handle.
That gets you all worked up, though, huh?
Yeah. And I had to just walk away. I have to walk away from situations. And sometimes it's for my own personal safety, because I'm partially blind. And when I was growing up in school, I was a slow learner. That's what the label was. I just learned differently. I couldn't.
And ladies and gentlemen, Richard has autism, and he's brilliant. He's smart. When it comes to computers, there's nobody who can touch him,
Except for my friend Mike, and he was my partner when I worked at an onshore oil company a few years ago. And if you're watching, Mike, hello, you were an amazing person to learn computers from, because you're always learning that stuff, and they always have something that can go wrong.
So when Richard says he's slow, he's not really
He's
slow.
really very quick.
I'm
Very
focused.
quick. Very quick.
Focused. But if I sit more than 45 minutes in front of that computer, I have to take a half hour to an hour break. I'm working with one half of one working eye. So like a half hour on the computer for me would be like somebody else's 3 hours. So I've learned to pace myself, get up off the chair, walk outside if it's not pouring crocodiles and alligators like it did again today. But
You take what you need and you do
Oh,
what
yeah.
you need. And
Yes.
here we are, all with our own separate diagnoses, but all very successful and very intelligent.
Now, you work with the homeless, right?
So my experience with homelessness, first, when I was 17, after I graduated high school, I became homeless. I became homeless due to addiction. I was 17 and I was living in Texas, and so for 3 months, for about a year, I experienced homelessness, but for 3 months, I lived on the streets. And that was the hardest and longest time, like that 30-minute panic attack. It seems like it lasts forever.
High five. What a girl. What a
One
girl.
day is like a month, right? When you're living in the street and you're trying to find somewhere to live. And thankfully, by the grace of God, I was pulled out of my situation. I did write about my experience with my homelessness and my addiction in my book and how I came out of that situation. And then in undergrad, I went to UL, which I see you're representing. And I was a McNair scholar. So that's Ronald McNair was an astronaut, and he started this program for tuition paid if you do research, if you are either a minority or you are a first-generation college student. I'm obviously not a minority. I am a first-generation college student.
Wow.
So I was able to participate as a McNair scholar, and that's good information for some of you to know also, so that you can sign up for it. And they paid for my graduate school tuition. Yes.
That's
so
amazing.
I did research, and you get to pick your topic, and I chose homelessness because of my own experience.
Yeah.
So I spent a year doing research under 2 mentors on homelessness in our area, but I also was able to travel to Washington, D.C. to the National Association of Homelessness for youth and children.
Wow.
So that was quite an experience, and I gained a lot of knowledge from within the conference, but I gained a lot more knowledge when I walked out into the streets and I talked to people who lived in the streets. And what I found was really creative, though, is that because I talked to people who lived in tents, just in the middle of DC, and people who had just a cardboard box. But then I noticed that some people had even taken like the gates where the trees were planted in the city, and they had taken boards and tarps and whatever they could find and made a little house shelter. And it was just so creative to me, and like they engineered that,
Wow.
And I was also thrilled that the city let them do that, but also disappointed that they had to do that.
In Washington.
Yeah. There was a lady that used to go to the Amaze Brain Injury Support Group, and she ended up living in a tent near the downtown area of Seattle, and she looked okay, but you could just tell this was such a different normal for her that it was still a shock. And she found there were a lot... Oh, we got another caller.
Yes, caller.
Hey guys, it's Bert.
Hi, Bert.
Hi,
How
Bert.
are you? Bert,
I'm doing good. I'm
Me-
enjoying the show.
meet Kelly, Bert.
Hi, Bert.
Hello, Kelly. I would like to know if you and homeless people ever went to see a psychiatrist for mental health issues.
Can you repeat that?
Have you ever been to a psychiatrist while you were homeless?
Unfortunately, not while I was homeless. I was so young, and I also was suffering with addiction, and so I had kind of addressed that first. But I didn't start to have mental health issues until I got a little bit older. Maybe I was having them, but I didn't have a diagnosis. So until I had a diagnosis and knew what was going on, I really didn't know what kind of help I needed. So currently, I do see a psychiatrist and I have a counselor. But when I was, thank you. But when I was homeless, no.
Okay, I would strongly recommend that because I get a lot of my my psychologist appointments, and I love calling into the show. And how y'all doing?
We're doing good. Bert has been calling into the show for years and years.
That's awesome.
I've been knowing Bert for at least 10 years, Bert?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
If not more.
Y'all used to have the Bridges support group there in New Iberia, way back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, we would go, I would drive over there with Jamie Ballou. Miss Jackie, if you're listening, I'm talking about Jamie. Jamie was my very best friend at the time, you know? And me and Jamie had started this show 17 years ago because I was so grateful for what the Lord had done for me that I knew how it is to hurt. And I started it to help hurting people. You know, and Jamie and I would go over there along with Ronnie Mayu and a few others, and we would meet Bert in Iberia, and we'd have a support group over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yes, support groups are very important. They're so helpful. And to know that, like, you're not alone, to have that support and be able to talk about experiences that you share, that's great. And you're such an asset, Bert, to the show. Thanks for calling in all the time.
Yeah, Bert.
I love to be on Facebook and encourage people and all that. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Bert.
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later then.
Okay, Bert.
Bye.
And Richard.
Yes.
What are the support groups?
Okay.
Okay, we got two sets of
Well,
support
for our
groups.
viewers in the more of the downtown Lafayette area, or who can commute from surrounding towns during the daytime, we have a support group that meets the first and third Wednesdays of each month from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the downtown Lafayette Public Library, 301 West Congress, 3rd floor, room 3A. And for those who work during the day or have school or other commitments, we have the third Sunday of each month support group that meets from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at First Lutheran Church. I'll get this right eventually.
You got to go down Settlers Trace to get to it.
301 West Farrell Road, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Only the third Sunday of each month. And they also have a group, family to family, for those who have a friend or a family member or relative living with a mental health diagnosis. That group meets the first Sunday of each month at First Lutheran Church, 301 West Farrell Road, again at 6 to 7:30 p.m.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're confused on where West Farrell Road is, when you're going down Ambassador Caffrey, headed toward out of town, take Settlers Trace when you come to before you get to before you get to Settlers Trace, you take it, and they'll take you to the church.
And there's some landmarks. There's Academy, sports store, and then there's a certain well-known coffee shop that started out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Trick question: does anybody know the name of that first coffee shop in Seattle that became world famous? That's your homework tonight. I was there at the very the first couple of months they opened up.
Starbucks.
Yeah, back when it was like $1.50 a cup. Now it's way more than that.
Starbucks.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
Jet Coffee has some really good coffee
I've been
in
there.
Lafayette.
I've
Also,
been there.
before the show, Richard said that he had a bad memory, but he just spit out all kind of details. That
Been
memory.
on the show.
It's pretty good.
12 years now I've been on the show. It's repetition.
I like, though, the support group you said for family members of persons
Yeah.
who suffer with mental illness. And that's so important because it is important for us, but it's important for our relatives and our friends to
Yes.
understand
Yes.
us also.
Yes.
Yes, because there's so little ignorance on mental illness, on mental health, that family members, it's hard to get family members to go to these meetings,
It is.
Absolutely.
Like Steve and Karen Dubois. Karen Dubois is the lead lady for mental health in Lafayette.
NAMI of Acadiana Program and Education Director.
Yes.
Of NAMI?
Yes.
Of NAMI.
Okay, yeah.
Of Acadiana.
And they teach programs about that, and they get people that go over there to listen to them. They get students,
Mm-hmm.
and they always have a full group, and they do such a wonderful work doing that, And then also Denver Nobles and Rosa Nobles, who are our leaders, me and Richard's leaders, who also help with that,
Oh, nice. You
So-
have a lot of connections and resources.
We got connections.
And we're still learning new ones every day.
And there's so many I don't know about, and that is whenever it would be great for the viewing audience also to call in and tell us. And
Yeah,
tell everybody else, hey, I know about this resource or this resource, because I do know about NAMI, as you mentioned, and we mentioned earlier about mental health, and then also the Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing. They do housing assistance. So that's a resource too. And locally, I did find that you could call 337-232-HELP. For shelter and rental assistance, and that they partner with Arch. So those
Okay.
are some resources that may be helpful. So if you or someone you know or someone you don't know but you see experience in homelessness can use benefit from these resources, then tell them about it. Please give them information.
You also got Faith House for women and children, and then something I didn't know about, the Family Justice Center of Acadiana, that was started by Faith House over on Buchanan. I did not know about
Is
any
that
of
for
this.
like the free attorneys and stuff? If you
Right.
Yeah.
They'll help you fill out a police report, how to make sure it's followed up, what to do if you have to go to court and testify, and the perpetrators in the same courtroom. I mean, you talk about pushing your post-traumatic stress syndrome to the max.
Yes. That's another topic for another night.
Yeah.
That's a whole book by itself.
Yes.
and I would like to get back to people that like we all have suffered from some kind of mental illness of some kind of way, but I would like to talk about schizophrenia and the fear that it brings to you. If you're out there by yourself and you've been abused, and there's a lot of abuse in the world,
Yeah.
and you don't believe anybody cares, just ask God to show you that He's real. And I most certainly guarantee you He will. He will show you that He's real through a sign, through a letter, through a smile, or some kind of talking to you, or whatever. He will do that, because He's as real as they come, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And if you're mad at Him, tell Him you're mad at Him, and challenge Him, and He'll meet your challenge with all the love in the world, ladies and gentlemen. When I was washing dishes, trying to survive, smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day that I had done for 25 years, and drinking a case of Coke a day, and just trying to survive, this guy, Mike Fuselier, came over to me and taught me about the Bible. And I learned about the Bible. I gave my life to Jesus. He baptized me in the Bible, in the Bayou Teche, wearing Speedos. and my life has never been the same, you know. And I would like to say, if my number is at AOC, if y'all would like to leave a message for me, I'll give my number 337-781-4255 if anyone would want to call and talk to me. I'd be glad to talk to you. And if you can't reach me, if you don't remember the number, just call AOC and leave a message for me. And they always return what they want to talk to me about. You know.
And their number is 337-232-4434, and there's a prompt for the receptionist. So that's another way. Or we can be all reached on Facebook. Can't say I'll always reply immediately because half the time I'm keeping 2 or 3 computers alive from the hard drives dying at the worst possible time. There's a word that was taught to me: back up, back up, back up. It's not if it's going to happen, it's
when.
It's when. And that usually comes at the worst time, like, oh, it's going to back up all that stuff. And all of a sudden it crashes.
No, I've had that happen in school.
Oh, yeah.
Not that fun.
No.
I can also be found on Facebook under Kelly Idell, Kellie, and then Idell. Idell's my middle name. The book, Take the Journey, Mastering Your Life by Writing Your Own Story, is on Amazon, Kelly Henry. But if you need to reach out to me, like I said, also I can be reached on Facebook as well.
Good.
How do we reach you on Facebook?
Search Kelly Idell.
Just,
But you and I are already friends. I think.
We already
Or I
are.
sent you a request. Maybe you haven't.
I don't want to be your friend.
We need to give credit to we heard
We're
about
already
you.
friends.
We're friends.
We heard about you through Vaughn Godot.
Vaughn
Yeah.
Godot, yes.
Yeah,
we
he
met.
sent me a message. He said, I see that you're a mental health specialist. Would you like to come on? It's absolutely an honor. So I'm so thankful that Vaughn reached out. Yeah.
We call him the Cajun balladeer. He writes all his own material, which is so rare. I mean, a lot of bands will do a cover for some popular songs, then do a couple of their own and such. I've been to almost every festival here in Lafayette, and Festival Acadiens et Creole, Festival International, and then the Downtown Alive things in spring and fall from 5:30 to 8:30. And a lot of musicians and those in the performing arts have had struggles with mental health.
Absolutely. I was just talking to a friend about this today
Yeah.
because, he has actually dyslexia. And he said, I write music, but then people say, well, you need to work on this. But it's not what he's hearing in his head. So I was encouraging him to record the audio instead
Good.
of trying to write it.
Oh, that's
But
good.
yeah, he did. He's like, you think other artists do that? And I was like, yeah, I have heard before that musicians cannot read music but can play it.
Play it by ear.
By
Yeah.
ear, by memory. So if you do have a limitation, don't let that stop you because there's other ways. And now there's so much technology that can
Yes.
help us.
I got a little digital recorder, but now it's all on my phone. I can
Oh.
start journaling that way.
Absolutely.
Because half the time I don't know where the little micro recorder is. And half the time I have to have someone call my little phone, have it come to me. They're going to have to invent a little bell or whistle that you can do to have the phone ring back.
Like a clap on, clap off.
Something like
Find my
that.
phone.
I'm
And
sure.
Kelly, I'm going to get Richard to call you Saturday or Friday to let you know where that film is going to be shown if you want to
Yes.
go see it.
So New Iberia.
It's in
7
Iberia. I don't
p.m.
know where in Iberia yet.
But you guys are going to let me know.
We're
Yes.
gonna
I
let you know.
cannot wait. I'm so excited about that.
And we got pictures of where we were filming in Abbeville at St. Mary Magdalene's Church. We shot outside and inside when the Queen who's she played by? I forgot her name.
Victoria.
Victoria. It's funny because occurring in the Victorian times. Then we filmed about 2 or 3 months later at the Renaissance Village just north of Hammond, and we were fighting off the gnats and not too many mosquitoes, but they were still repairing it after Hurricane Ida.
And me and Richard are both in the film.
I know. That's why I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to
And
go.
there is a film company called JC Films.
Vaughn sent me that because
Oh,
he
he did?
asked me about if I was interested in the film part, but I hadn't got back to him yet on that.
Well, you can go to jcfilms.org, and then if you can liberate $10 a month, you can join the production club, which Bob and I just did. And I found out we can watch all their videos for no charge, and they have quite a few on law enforcement and the military, and they're coping with mental health issues. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I even ordered the DVD. I'm just gonna have to get on the stick and make time for it. But the goal is that we're gonna produce a film here in Lafayette.
And let me tell you about a dream that I'm saving money to produce another film called Heaven's Warriors. And it's about this pastor, Richard Ledden. His real name is Richard Leday. I took it after him. He's a physicist, one of the most brilliant men I've ever met, a man of God. And he's fighting this casino establishment that's promoting sex slavery. And he's trying to fight them, and they have satanic beings, and he has angels behind him, and he's fighting. And at one time, they're in New Orleans waiting for this ISIS boat to come in, the terrorist group ISIS, to come in with 500 girls to be sending to different parts of the country, to different casinos to work as sex slaves. And there's a big battle, there's a big demons and angels fighting and everything.
So
And
this
that's
is
the
powerful.
book. That's
Yes,
the book
it is.
I'm working on right now. I'm
Oh.
trying to save.
So
The
this
book's
is-
written already.
And then it's
I'm
gonna
trying
be a
to
movie.
save the money to make a trailer out of it.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's going to be so powerful.
That's gonna be powerful.
We
Yes,
need
absolutely.
it because I know
Because that's a big thing right
And
now.
you
It
can
is.
reach a larger audience doing the movie too, because some
Yes.
people don't read or
Yes.
don't like to read.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know of, we've been following the whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein and the horrors that went on that island. And there are still people coming forward about what they endured as slaves to every whim of whoever walked through that door. And some big names have come up. And it just shook me to the core and said, Bob, do you know you're writing about current headlines? I mean,
Wow.
literally.
So anyway,
Look how you're just in tune with God.
I have
Yes.
that book. I have another book that coincides with it. Same theme, and then another book that hasn't been published yet. So I got that book
And so many
another-
more books to come, I'm
It's
sure.
just so
You
many
seem to
more
be
books to
unstoppable.
come.
I can't. I try to do a little pre-editing, and I can't keep up. I'm halfway through the current one about what's
Time tripping in the planets.
yeah, and I'm reading the one about Christmas and time traveling. I'm about halfway through it. It's just mind blowing. And then he's done one to honor his little dog Chloe that passed away last year,
That's
and
so
she does
true.
little time travel trips. And
It's a book about Chloe, who goes to Carlsberg Cavern with a family and sees a toad and chases the toad, runs away, gets lost from her family, and finally runs into the toad who's not afraid anymore. And the toad takes Chloe on these different time trips to different to different time zones, like Queen Elizabeth's time zone when she becomes Queen of England, and George Washington and all that. And it's about her life, you know.
That's so interesting. I told Bob when I walked in, he said, "Oh, you have a book," and I said, "But I'm not a writer. You're a writer."
Wow.
This book started off as a personal journal, so it evolved into a book. But yeah, Bob is a real, true writer.
Wow.
Well, thank you, girl.
Of course.
Well, we've got 30 seconds left. Can you believe it?
Thank
I
you,
don't know where
ladies
the
and
time
gentlemen.
went.
It went by so fast.
Once again, if you're mad at God, show him that you're real. He's real, and he most certainly will reveal himself to you. And we would like to say thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was an
Thank
honor
you.
to have you,
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thank y'all.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And Jackie Ballou and all the staff at AOC.
Yes.
Producer, owner of the show,